Today, I really want to do a video outside for you, but there's more snow today on the ground than there was Christmas morning. The last 5 or 6 days have been so windy, there's no way you'd be able to hear me. So we're in the greenhouse for 1 or 2 more videos, it looks like. That's okay. Today, let's talk about garden planning. Instead of sitting out there about that Mother's Day weekend when a lot of us decide to go, handful of seeds, freshly rototilled garden, scratching our head, where's it all gonna go? That's frustrating, that's stressful, that doesn't make a good start to gardening, okay? So I'm really speaking to a lot of you first-time gardeners out there. Maybe some of you seasoned gardeners can learn something too. So what we wanna do in these next week or so, let's go measure your garden. Let's build a map. How big is your garden space? 20 by 20, 40 by 60, 80 by 100? Map it out, draw it out. Make a detailed map and plan of where we're gonna head this year. Don't be sitting there with those seeds, scratching our head, getting mad at each other. This isn't fun, okay? So let's build a plan. Here, we have the exact same beds we use every single year. We have 9 30-inch beds. Some are 40 foot long, some are 30 foot long. We know what's gonna be in those beds almost every single year. We just move it around sometimes. Other than that, it's all ready for us to go. All of our garden space is under weed mat. We don't have any open weeds, open space for weeds. All of our crop is grown under weed mat. With our 30-inch beds, that's the industry standard. Why? 30-inch beds is very easy for most people to still step over. If we start getting 36 or 40-inch beds, then it's really hard. We have to walk all the way to the end of the bed and come back up the other side. 30-inch bed's easy to harvest. We can squat or kneel in the rows and be able to reach over halfway. So it makes harvesting much easier. So we do 30-inch beds with 12-inch walkways. 12-inch walkways, for us, it mathematically fits in our space. If we went to 14 or 16-inch walkway, then we'd lose a bed. So we can still manage, sometimes it's a little tight, but we can still manage in a 12-inch walk space pretty easily. So let's map that out. What's our garden gonna look like? Let's start putting it in beds. So you'll hear me talk about beds, rows in the beds, but we'll talk about beds. We don't grow one big long row of beans and 2 rows of carrots because the weeds will kill us, and that's the frustrating part. So we grow our garden in beds and rows in our beds. So that's how I want you to think about your garden. Map it out, look at it from an aerial view, measure out 30-inch beds. Don't worry about the rows in it right now. 30-inch beds, and then walk spaces to whatever your garden equates to, okay? Let's start planning with that. The other reason we go 30-inch beds is weed mat is 36 inches wide. So all of our beds are grown under weed mat. We don't deal with weeding. The other reason we do 30-inch rows is that weed mat comes in 36-inch rolls. We grow everything we can under weed mat. Weeding should not take the time from our garden that it does when there's so many weeds. We're only gonna raise 25% of our vegetables from our garden for first-time gardeners. Why should it take 80% of the time to weed it? So let's combat weeds off the bat as best as we can. So map it out. 30-inch rows, let's try to stick with those. 12-inch spacing, measure that garden out. Now make a list of what we want to grow. What do we want to grow? My suggestion for first-time growers, don't grow it all. I talked about this in another video. Just grow maybe 3 things. Or better yet, just grow what you want to eat. If you're not an eggplant person, don't put a whole bed of eggplants in. Stick with the things you want to eat, because in the end, that's going to be what's most rewarding on what you're doing, is eating what you grow versus having the whole bountiful garden with 15, 20 different varieties, but you don't eat it, okay? So once you have your list of what you're going to grow, you can either go down to your local hardware store, garden center, and buy your packets of seeds and have them laid out, and that's wonderful. Or what I recommend is go to Johnny's Selected Seeds. There are many. I'm not advocating Johnny's. It's worked for us. We do about 3 different catalog companies and local source seeds. But go to Johnny's Selected Seed and request a free catalog. This catalog, more than just buying your seeds, this catalog is full of knowledge of what you're going to plant and why you're going to plant. So when we go down to the store and you go look at the seed aisle and you look at a packet of beans, what do they usually have? Green beans, wax beans, that's it. You only get a few selections. With something like Johnny's, you are going to get many, many varieties of beans. And in the catalog, it's going to show germination temps. It's going to show disease resistance. It's going to show how to plant them. Some are buried deep. Some are more shallow. It's going to give you more knowledge than just that packet of seeds. So even if you don't buy from Johnny's, get the book. It's a great resource on helping you plan. Kind of a wish book for gardeners. So now you've mapped out your bed. You've chosen what seeds you're going to plant, so you can start putting those in succession of where your garden is going to be. But when do we plant? Another useful tool is Clyde's Garden Planter. Okay? Go get Clyde's Garden Planter. You can get it off his website at ClydesVegetablesPlantingChart.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. And I think about $3 or $4 get you this handy dandy little tool. Comes with a little instruction sheet in it, and it gives you frost dates. So our closest frost date town that's listed is Spokane, Washington. So pick Spokane, Washington. It is May 5th. So we slide the tool. There's a red line. We slide that red line to May 5th. And for all of our vegetables, it gives us the information on when we're going to plant them and when we're going to harvest them. On the back side is fall gardening. So we put in our final frost date. And the same thing. This shows us fall gardening of those vegetables that we may or may not grow. And it shows the last plant date, and then it shows our fall harvest date. So we can plan that out, our fall date, our spring date, maybe our midsummer dates, and we can line those all out and keep our garden going. That way we're not overwhelmed with where, when, how. Sometimes our crops fail because we plant them too early. Sometimes our crops fail because we plant them a little bit too late. Planting lettuce in July is not a good idea unless you can manage it and keep it away from the heat. It will go bitter before you can even harvest it without proper management. So that tool is a great way to start building that map, putting dates on when we're going to plant. There's nothing more stressful than going out with a whole bucket of seeds and spending a full day or 2 or 3 days just planting. Again, it goes back to that our garden starts off stressful and it's not relaxing. It shouldn't be that way. So let's map our garden. Let's map our garden in 30-inch beds. Let's make a list of what we want to grow. Let's start putting those on paper. Get a catalog if you don't have one, or you can source a lot of this stuff online. Look for a Clyde's Garden Planner to be able to build when we're going to plant it and where we're going to plant it. Let's not start off gardening as a stressful time. Let's start it off with an easy flow plan. So my next video, I actually want to get out on the garden, make you folks a video on prepping and building one of those 30-inch garden beds. A couple tools you probably don't have is a broad fork. We use a broad fork. We don't till anymore. We use a landscaper rake, or I call it a bed shaper rake. And that's about probably the only tools you don't have. But we'll show you how to prep it, how to compost it, how to get it ready for plant, and then how we throw down a weed mat and get it covered. And that way it's ready to go when we're ready to go. So look for our next video very soon when the snow finally melts and maybe there's some sunshine with no wind, and we're going to prep a garden bed for you. But right now, get out there, map your garden, plan your garden, go into this spring with a plan instead of going into the spring with chaos. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy your winter weather. I hope it goes away soon. Take care. Thank you.